Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're enjoying your day so far, and today we're going to talk about the scouting series. This was meant to be a 4-day event, a pretty big deal, like a combine type event where, yeah, we get a load of the amateur players, they get to play under the professional player coaches and the analyst staff, they get to see who they might potentially want to pick up for the next season, they get to, well, exactly show their skills off to these professional teams. However, just 3 days in, it absolutely falls apart. None of the amateur players want to play with it. I've heard that a number of the coaching staff really didn't care before this was even happening. They were just like forced to make some sort of content around it, and therefore they had to kind of do it. And well, into day 4, they've actually decided just to completely cancel off day 4 due to the, well, this has pretty much been a bit of a shambles. It could have been executed much better in my opinion. There could have been a lot of hype around this, and well, looking at the amateur players, because a lot of people are very interested in the amateur and the challenger scene this year, probably more than they ever have been in Call of Duty history. But this scouting series was not executed as well as it could have done, and well, pretty shambolic how it has turned out these last couple of days. Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. Just to explain what this is, for those confused about it, as Crone does a couple of days ago. So it was meant to be a 4-day event, only amateur players. If you're signed to a CDL team, even as a substitute, you don't get invited to this. So guys like Center, guys like Parasite were invited to this, Aches was invited, Brack was invited, a number of big names from the challenger side. And well, they're the North American side, 64 players, North American or European side with 64 players. Every single day, each CDL team drafted a new squad. So you have the coaching staff, Revan, for example, over in the New York Subliners, Rambo and the Dallas Empire, drafting their squads in Europe and North America. And well, then they would just play effectively a scrim series against another team. 5 maps. They would see how these guys were playing, see how these guys were communicating, to get an idea of who are the next big talents in each region. So yeah, teams will effectively play each other in Glorified 8. EU and NA will not play each other. No official stream. And well, maybe that's something which could have been done right. And there's certainly questions here regarding the fact that, okay, there was no prize money on the line, there was no like winner of this, there was no obligation for any of these teams to sign any of the players that they wanted to. So it gets to the point where pretty much this was all irrelevant. There was no like big prize at the end of it or something to look forward to, which could have been pretty cool to have. And as a result of that, the coaching staff didn't really care. They're like, okay, we have our pro team. Why do I want to waste my time doing this stuff to watch a load of amateur players play, which probably maybe I signed one of them at some point down the line, but really I've already maybe signed a substitute. Like if you're Atlanta FaZe, for example, you've already signed Sibilant onto your sub bench. You don't really need to do this, right? And I think there's a lot of, well, frustration from the coaching staff. The fact that why am I putting time into this? Or I could be, well, putting in time much more valuably. But in addition to that, we actually get the same thing from the amateur players. The amateur players are like, well, even the fact that I get to be watched by these coaching staffs of these professional teams, it's actually not worth it to me. I would much prefer to have the scrim time with my own personal team and actually improve in that sense and maybe do better in these upcoming tournaments than effectively waste my time in front of, well, some of these professional league coaches who probably don't really care anyway and probably aren't going to sign me, especially after the first couple of days where maybe I did make my name successfully. So after the first 2 days, yeah, this went completely downhill for the reasons I was just describing. So as you can see right here, also thought I'd mention this. The Paris Legion did a tweet, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in over 2 months, as Crone says in reply, Intel at 540. But Spoof was on the Paris Legion, while scouting series squad. Theory was, well, drafting him in. Of course, Theory, the coach of that team, it looks like, for this upcoming season. But yeah, won't be participating tomorrow as we are playing a tourney as a team. So pretty interesting to see that Spoof is just dipping from the scouting series for the final day. And as Bid says yesterday when everything started to kick off, so I'll go through the timeline. Not even enough European players for the scouting series. The teams couldn't even draft a 4-man team for each of the 12 teams in the league, which is just pretty remarkable to see. And as Shift says, looks like a ton of EU players are opting out of playing the scouting series. So the North American draft is going on first. Live tracking here. Why would people want to opt out? Are they losing out on something for playing in it? And as Shift said, scrims, rather. They can benefit by playing with their own team rather than getting drafted into like a 4-man, like basically pickup squad for 4 days of your week, when it's a pretty important week, I suppose, leading up, especially with the new meta dropping and coming into play, and well, leading up to the next Challengers Cup at the start of January. So this is where you can really see quite what was going on. This was Shift's spreadsheet. This was day 1. You can see a lot of stuff going on. Players not picked, players picked. Everything's full out. They played all their series right here as it was intended to happen. Actually, this is day 2. This is day 1 then, so it's a very similar thing. Obviously, everything is packed out. This then is day 3. As you can see, we don't even really get half the way. The matches aren't even being recorded, and they had to do a couple of redrafts because there was just not enough players actually wanted to play in this. A load of guys pulled out because, well, obviously there is some benefit to playing in this. You get noticed maybe by North American, well, coaching staff, and I certainly think to some degree these players maybe are overlooking the benefits that could have. Like, genuinely, you can be playing the scouting series, and a guy like Rambo, a guy like whoever is watching over your squad. And then again, like, are you ever actually going to be on the Dallas Empire starting starting team, given the roster they have? Maybe not, right? But all it really takes is to have one nasty 4-piece, and the coaching staff that may be watching over you is thinking, okay, damn, this guy's nice, got my, got your name in the back of his head, and maybe that comes back to help you further down the line. But maybe they did that for a couple of days, and they thought, look, it's not worth my time playing with these random pickup teams in these, scouting series, when I could just be putting actual time in with my squad and trying to get better and improve in that sense. And that's pretty much what happens here. So as CDC update says, hearing there were not enough European players to be drafted today, what is going on? They were actually going to do a redraft for EU, but have asked the coaches for opinions once we even have 48 players. So yeah, bit of a shambles. They do a redraft here, but they actually get like to be confirmed on some of these because there's just not enough players going around on some of these teams. And so then we actually do an entire redraft for the European region. Only 8 teams remain, so some of them just drop out because there just simply was not enough players to even play. And so yeah, finally they do that. And now we get to make a decision on North American drafts because there was missing spots in this as well. A number of players also dropping out. We get a few swaps in, so a number of players also dipping. So FaZe dips from the FaZe team, Laceville dips from the Surge team, Tiny comes in, and then we get another North American redraft. So just an absolute shambles. No one knows what's going on. I mean, like, it's not clear at all. The first couple of days seemed to make a relative amount of sense. People were streaming it, people were talking about it, but into day 3, no one really cared anymore, and it all just kind of fell apart. And as you can see right here, I feel bad for Shift, man, trying to cover this, trying to get some great content for the Challenger side, because this was a great opportunity for the Challenger side, in theory, to have their stuff promoted, right? If this was a proper tournament, like, let's say Center was getting drafted to a team, Parasite was getting drafted to a team every single day, they were streaming, there was money on the line, potentially, it was like a tournament format, maybe, where it's effectively fantasy COD, but that team plays to the, to its logical conclusion. That might have actually, it would have got a lot of viewers on Twitch, I'll just tell you that for free, and there could have been a lot of great content to be made around it. But Shift sitting here thinking, what do I even do? Especially because, it's effectively fallen apart before my very eyes. And Tiny tweets out the same GIF as well right here, of course, into the Seattle Surge, as we just looked at a second ago. So yeah, pretty remarkable to see this all falls apart as it does. And as Spoof says, look, I'm going to be completely transparent. I like the idea of having a scouting series, but it is just flawed in so many ways. I don't blame so many of these amateur players for chalking it off. And as Ake says, I tweeted about it when they announced, purely to say they did it, had no significance or actual benefits to anyone involved. Even, saying the professional staff or even the amateur players really has no benefit at all. And as Spoof says, look, yeah, down to the T, it is just to say that they helped the Challenger scene. So they don't actually really care, in Spoof's opinion. They're just doing it to say that they actually made an impact here. And as Tish says, look, I had tons of people asking why I wasn't playing. I just wanted to play with my actual team instead of playing H, right? The scrims, of course, much more valuable than playing in these H tournaments, you could argue, especially for a guy like Tish and maybe some of these top amateurs, of which the coaching staff on some of these top professional teams probably already know about. Some of these top amateurs, they know what they're capable of. Maybe they've been in the league in the past. Tish, of course, was a substitute on the Dallas Empire last season. So for these type of players, what benefit really is there to playing this and with no money on the line? And honestly, people didn't really understand it, right? Like, it was pretty remarkable to me, this tweet that I'll bring up once again. Like, so many people were replying to Crone, being like, what even is the scouting series? What is going on? I don't understand. Therefore, he had to do this tweet. There was no, there was no real announcement from the CDL. Nobody really knew what was going on. They kind of announced it. I talked about it on the channel, and ever since then, they didn't really do any follow-up. They didn't really do any understanding. Like, I think the teams were kind of confused what was going on, what they were meant to do, and it lasted for a couple of days with decent results, and after then, it actually fell apart before its logical conclusion, to get to the point where they basically just had to chalk it off. And as this thread right here, impossible for them to research unless you speak to players in the region, only a handful of AMs that coaches need to know about. This is exactly why the cups need to be broadcasted, and if possible, get the coaches to watch. So yeah, there was certainly some discussion around the fact that a lot of the North American coaches, for example, were drafting teams that just don't speak the same language, because understandably, they don't really know what languages these guys speak. And as Drill says, tried to push this last year, still nothing, not even a broadcast on the mainstream for this year, though through casters' personal Twitches, so like Shift and Co doing it, doing what they can for the professional scene. And as Defrag says, it's annoying because the level in competition in both regions is high this year, with people coming back from the league and coaching and stuff like that, like Josh, for example, coming back. A lot of amateur teams have run like franchises with coaches and analysts, but the league is still not giving us an actual platform that isn't someone's personal Twitch, which is pretty remarkable, quite frankly. Like, last season, the Challengers was barely ever really covered on the stream. There was barely ever a stream for it, and really, as he says right here, it's like Shift and Infinity and these guys that are actually doing their best job to cover this stuff. And it doesn't actually get broadcast by the CDL, and maybe you could argue it's the same thing once again this time round, despite the CDL logo being the 3 pillars of Call of Duty: the pros, the challengers, and the fans. And I think a lot of the amateur players don't really see that support for the challenger side, and maybe you could argue that that is certainly justified. And it gets to the point where the COD League say, look, due to player participation in tomorrow's Toronto Ultra 5K holiday snack, whatever that is, and the CDL coach feedback as well. Day 4 of the scouting series will be cancelled. Thanks to all the Challenger players for participating and best wishes throughout the season. But yeah, could have been executed a lot better. No one even knew what this thing was. There was no prize money on the line. Some amateur players played it, didn't find too much value. They dipped out. The coaching staff didn't really like it. It was taking time away from their actual schedule. They didn't really like it either. They, were happy to dip out when they could and cancel off day 4, as you can see right here. So, yeah, not the best executed. Maybe next season we'll see a better thing. There's a number of different things they could have done here, I think, to make this better. And, well, we'll have to see what the season holds for us going forwards, because if everything is executed like this was, we're probably not in for a pretty time, despite how good the game is this year. Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Just to finish off with this as well, saying that there's some Corecaster issues right now, as Easy Mac and Ryan Bell are talking about. So, yeah, well, hopefully this gets sorted as well by Track and the guys. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. Really helps out the YouTube algorithm to know you enjoy this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Take care, and I will see you next time.
Going top bed.
Oh, I'm needing him.
I'm going top bed.
He's in the base.
I can see L. He's still L. I'm looking over it.
Yeah, L got me. Came back to me.
L dead.
Nice.
One water stairs.
What the?
One zig.
L still.
Your trophy system has been destroyed.
One zig water stairs.
Money stairs. Money. Yeah,
One
water stairs.
on A.